Flag, and I'll lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd remain standing for a minute to honor those who are serving in our armed forces. Thank you. It is my pleasure this morning in addition to myself, to introduce the following members of the Fairfield Glade Community Club Board of Directors who are present here today. As I call your name, would you please stand so that everyone can recognize you? Well, we got one that won't be standing, although she's probably standing at home. So Ellen Anderson, who's the declarant representative, is at home right now and on the phone, so she's hearing everything. Bruce Cox, Treasurer. Bruce Horn, Director at Large. Barb Storer, Interval Owner Representative. John Wedgeworth, Vice President. Ken Fleural, President of the Board. I also want to introduce one other person who's here as a business partner with the Fairfield Glade Community Club and with the board. Mark McLean, would you stand? There's Mark. Mark is the General Manager of Wyndham Destinations. Thank you for coming. Yep.
Sorry, folks, I have to go to lunch a little long. Come on down and join us. All right?
And my final introduction is Bill Culbreth, who is our Interim General Manager. He's also present. And I'm going to turn it over to Bill to introduce the senior management team.
Come on up. Thank you all for having me here and allowing me to serve this community. These folks I have had the esteemed pleasure of getting to know over the last couple of months and spending a good bit of time with them, and they're fantastic. I would like to introduce each one of them. Pat, as if she needs an introduction, 45 years here of tenure at Fairfield Glade. Fantastic of what she does. Yes. Sam McAdoo, at 14 years here. And Amy Kincaid, she is a forensic accountant. She really knows the numbers. And she has been in that position as Director of Finance for 3 years. Adam Horn, he has been here only a short time, but he runs all the F&B. He is the representative for Bobby Jones Links. And then who's next over there? Oh, Jeff, 24 years as director here at Fairfield Glade. He's the director of golf, so he has a lot of responsibility as well. Then we have Bruce Evans at a wastewater treatment plant, 12 years. Does a fantastic job, has really modernized the entire operation out there. And of course that serves everyone here and every bit of this community. Yeah. Amber Black, 4 years here at Human Resources, and that includes training, safety, and several other things. She does a great job. Then we have Kate Self, our police chief, and she has been doing the same thing, modernizing and continued training, and they do a fantastic job on behalf of the community. And yes, yeah. They're keeping everyone safe. And then we have William Taylor, and he is 12 years tenure. He's our director of rackets, and they all do a fine job. So, so if you would all please join me in showing your appreciation for the fantastic management team. Thank you all for what you do, and thank you for all the interaction and all the help you've shown me and the welcome you've shown me. Okay, thank you. And with that, then I turn it over to the president of the board, Mr. Ken Floro.
Thanks, Bill. Good morning and welcome to the 2023 annual membership meeting. As required by Article 3, Section 302 of the Fairfield Glade Community Club bylaws, an annual meeting of the Fairfield Glade Community Club membership will be conducted on the third Friday of September of each year. The purpose of the annual membership meeting is to provide the membership with a report on the financial condition of the community club and announce the results of the election of directors. Consistent with the 2023 annual membership meeting notice, there are no other matters for membership consideration on today's agenda. The next item is to approve the minutes from the September 16th, 2022 annual membership meeting. So may I have a motion to approve those minutes? Okay, is there a second to that? Okay. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Then all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, say nay. The minutes of the September 16th annual membership meeting are approved. I'd like to share the following comments with you as we look at the year in review. As we stand before you today, we can report that 2023 was a year that continued to be filled with a sense of uncertainty. We continue to experience news cycles that are dominated by the uncertainty of rising prices, driven by continued and unexpected interruptions in the global supply chain and higher than expected interest rates here at home. We can report that the state of the community club is financially strong. As we finished 2022 and entered into 2023, our financial position was as strong as it has ever been. We also took advantage of our financial performance to add an additional $350,000 to our operating revenues since our membership meeting last year. Those reserves now total $5.85 million in addition to our $5.4 million line of credit. And this is to provide the community club with additional financial resources to prepare us for the anticipated financial challenges that will lie ahead. While we remain debt-free, it is no secret that the financial challenges of the Druid Hills Clubhouse, our new emergency services building, and funding that will be associated with the reserve study will require some level of external financing. We remain cautiously optimistic about the future of the economy. However, we have chosen to hope for the best and plan for the worst. As we progress through 2023 and experience significant increases in construction costs, we reassessed each of our 2023 planned projects to determine if the project expense was necessary and essential to our operation. As a result, some of our projects planned for 2023 have either been divided into multiple phases or deferred completely. The Board of Directors completed a review of our current community strategic plan at the end of 2022 and concluded that it was appropriate to engage an independent professional consulting firm familiar with the strategic planning in the club industry to conduct a comprehensive strategic planning engagement. Private Clubs Associates was chosen to lead the strategic planning engagement to deliver a strategic plan document designed to grow, change, and evolve with time. Included in the process is membership participation in member surveys, focus groups, an analysis of emerging trends among similar communities, and an examination of our facility use data along with forecasting of future needs. A regular membership communications plan is also a component of the planning process. We expect to post the 2023 Strategic Planning Member Survey Report on the member website early next week, and we'll make the comments from the survey report available for viewing at the administration building. Our new Strategic Planning Committee is engaged with PCA, and once our strategic plan document is completed, presented to our membership, and approved by the board, the committee will be charged to develop and update a work plan to be reviewed annually by the board to recommend annual revisions to the plan document. We expect the strategic planning engagement to be completed by year end. After multiple attempts to provide a food and beverage operation that would deliver the level of service and quality that our members expect and deserve, the board entered into a management agreement with Bobby Jones Links to operate the Stonehenge Grill in our 4 golf course snack bars. The management agreement became effective on March 1st of 2023, and the former community club food and beverage employees were transitioned to Bobby Jones Links employees, with Adams Horn assuming the role as our food and beverage director. In addition to consulting on the proposed food and beverage venue at Druid Hills, they also have provided the board with proposals to consider as part of the 2024 budget process. And we have contracted with Bobby Jones Links to enable us to use their buying power to reduce our purchasing costs. This partnership saved the club over $142,000. In February, the board entered into an agreement with Hart Property Associates of Nashville to conduct the community club's first capital reserve study. An initial draft of the reserve study results is under review, and revisions have been submitted for inclusion in the final report. When the final report is issued, the board expects that all of our existing POA operating reserves will need to be contributed to the capital reserve account, in addition to significant annual contributions each year in the future. The summary review of the reserve study will be presented during the proposed budget presentation in November. It will be posted on the website together with the proposed budget for review and comment. While a reserve study is an essential component to protecting the future financial position of the community club, this new financial commitment will present significant funding challenges for future budgets. The Druid Hills Steering Committee continues to work on the planning process to determine what the next Druid Hills Clubhouse facility should provide for our growing community. The Steering Committee has conducted several town halls and conducted member surveys, all to gather input from our community members. We have completed the land transfer agreement and received word last night that the title is being prepared. We expect to give the green light to start the construction next week on the driving range modifications and the construction of the putting course. One of the most significant financial challenges will be to determine how we finance the cost of the new Druid Hills Clubhouse once we have determined what it needs to be and to provide for the community. Construction on the first phase of the Druid Hills Clubhouse is expected to begin sometime late in 2024 after we have determined our financing strategy. The land transfer agreement exchanged the Druid Hills driving range parcel for the fire department parcel. As a result, the community club will construct a much-needed new emergency services building. Representatives from the community club board of directors, the fire department, and their board of directors and the major capital projects committee are meeting regularly. The preliminary requirements for both tenants of the emergency services building have been identified, and an initial space plan is undergoing the final review and revisions. We expect construction on the new emergency services building to begin late in 2024 as well. After assessing the initial construction bids for the next phase of the Robin Hood Park expansion project for a pavilion with restrooms, bocce ball courts, and hard surface paths, we have decided to defer the construction of the pavilion and only construct the bocce courts and the hard surface paths. We are currently in the process of conducting soil sampling to determine the extent of site preparation work that will be required for this project. Funding for the St. George Marina building project has been approved and will commence after the season concludes and be completed in time for the 2024 season. In April, we determined that the most cost-effective and environmentally sensitive approach for our residents to dispose of leaves, yard waste, sticks, and tree limbs was to partner with a nearby landowner. We entered into an agreement with John Sherrill allowing our residents to take yard waste, including leaves, sticks, and tree limbs, to his site on Chestnut Hill Road 3 days a week. The new compost site is open from 7:30 to 3:30 p.m., 2 days a week, and Saturdays, except for major holidays. As a result of the board's consultations with the community club legal counsel, the board was informed that the community club would need to provide additional amenity access for members of the public in order to protect our 501c4 tax status as a membership organization. Access by members of the public to our swimming pools requires that the community club comply with the Tennessee Health Department regulations, which require lifeguards. The community club continues to work diligently to recruit, select, and train lifeguards as we move towards full implementation of our lifeguard program. As a reminder and a reassurance, all the pools continue to operate as they have in the past for members and guests with no interruptions. In June, the Board of Directors announced the departure of our General Manager, Bob Weber, and that Club Leadership Alliance had been engaged to provide an interim general manager until a permanent general manager is in position. Bill Culbreth, our interim general manager, arrived on July 5th. The board continues the search process to identify and select our new general manager, and we expect the search process will take several months. While we face several extraordinary financial challenges, we are optimistic and confident that our plans and actions will provide Fairfield Glade with the opportunity to enjoy a future filled with growth and prosperity, ensuring that Fairfield Glade will continue to be one of the best value-planned communities in the United States. We want to thank all the members of the community club family, from Bill Culbreth, our interim general manager, to the members of the senior management team, and each and every one of our community club team members. You have risen to the challenge of providing a consistent and exceptional member experience with unwavering commitment to our members. We continue to be impressed by and are very grateful for the dedicated service of our 100-plus fellow community club members that volunteer to participate on our board advisory committees. Your input and feedback are an essential part of the board's decision-making process. A personal thank you to my fellow board members. Each of you vigorously advocates your point of view as we deliberate. But when it comes time for a decision, we can reach consensus around what is in the best interest of the community as a whole. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve as the president of the board, and I thank you for that opportunity to serve. And finally, we want to thank each and every one of you, the members of the community club who we represent. You have been resilient, very supportive, and we appreciate the confidence and trust you have expressed in all of us. And that is our 2023 year in review. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Bruce Cox, our community club board treasurer, to present the treasurer's report and the 2022 audit report.
Good morning. Everybody awake? Ready to go? It's got to warm up. I'll try not to wander too far, John, so I stay on camera. Well, anybody got a good joke to tell while we're... Here we go. It's all going to come clear in a moment. No, David, not just like the numbers. Okay, we had an audit by Coulter and Justice. This is their second year of being our auditors. The financial statements were all presented in accordance with the generally accepted accounting practices, if you didn't know what that was. I'm going to cover the balance sheet, the revenue and expenses, and the fund balances, along with the cash flows. So we'll go through that, and there'll be a time after this for you to ask any questions or seek some more clarity. Here's the Property Owners Association balance sheet. Cash-wise, you can see, whoop, hang on. You look at the end of 21 and the end of 22, we've significant more cash in POA. You might ask, why is that? Well, if you remember back during COVID, we had a lot of projects planned. When we got into 22, we discovered that the cost of all that went up tremendously. And so in order to see where we needed to get to, we actually delayed or canceled a lot of projects. Of that difference, 1.5 million, I think it's 1.5 million, $1.8 million of that is pure capital cash. We just didn't spend. And so we had that in our reserves. I'm sorry, I went backwards. And then property, plant, and equipment, about the same year on year. This $78,000 was this center itself loan, and you can see at the end of 22 we're debt free. So we paid off that loan. Am I in the way, Bruce? So we paid off that loan in 22. Member equity is about the same, again, because we didn't do a lot of investments in any projects. Cash flow, capital income, pretty much the same year on year. Property, plant, and equipment purchases, that's where I'm talking where we put all that money into cash, is we didn't do a lot of investments in projects and so or renovations. So we did not increase the property, plant, and equipment purchases. Debt service, this was the payoff of the center loan is what that debt service was in 2022. Talk about sewer. Cash, this was additional homes and income from that. Property and equipment, pretty much the same. We're also debt-free in sewer as well. And then member equity dropped a bit, and that's because of just depreciation on the equipment that we have. Nothing more than that. Cash flow, sewer service fee, sewer service fee is what you and I pay if you're on sewer every month. That's what that fee is, the $30 that you pay. And we got more homes. And so we're going to have higher income from sewer service fees. Capital income is about the same year on year. PP&E purchases, this was actually increased because we were adding a lot of sewer extensions, which allowed us to have more new homes, which allows us to have more sewer service fees. So the sewer service area is growing because we're extending sewer around the facilities and people are building their homes. So it's a good business. I want to talk a bit about internal controls. A lot of people ask me about that. And so we have major controls reviewed by Coulter and Justice. Part of their audit is to take a look at how are you controlling what goes on internally. We received an unqualified audit opinion, meaning a clean report for 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. That ought to make you feel really happy because that says our finance department and our managers here are managing your money and my money in a very efficient and proper manner. So I want to thank the finance department for all the hard work that they do day on day, plus all the hard work they did during the audit process to get that clean audit. So you should feel good that your money is being managed properly according to an outside auditor. Financial statements are reviewed monthly by the Financial Advisory Committee and the Board of Directors. Any capital expenditure that's greater or equal to or greater than $100,000 are reviewed by the Financial Advisory Committee, and they make recommendations and submit that to the Board of Directors for review, and then the board reviews it and either approves or does not approve, but that's how the process works. For expenditures of $25,000 to $100,000 are reviewed and approved by the Board of Directors. So the FAC gets involved when it becomes a major project. Internal controls. There's segregation of duties in the finance department. We have bank reconciliation, receipts and payables are done by different staff, and they're reviewed by both the controller and the director of finance. So we got lots of eyes on any transactions we're making. There are 2 signatures required on checks greater than $100,000. When we paid off the Stonehenge loan, I love to tell this story, I got a phone call and said, did you ever sign a check for over $1 million? I said, no. They said, well, you're going to get the opportunity to do that. Because when we paid off the Stonehenge loan, it was slightly over $1 million, so I got to sign $1 million check. I should have taken a picture of it and kept it, because I'll never do that again. But there are 2 signatures required on checks over $100,000. Background checks are completed for all check signers. That makes me nervous. No, it doesn't, actually. But because I'm a check signer, every year we do a background check on myself or anybody else that signs checks for Fairfield Glade. The board president and or the treasurer must approve all investments. Some significant expenditures for 2022. Like I said, we didn't do a lot, but we did do some. We bought a sanitation truck. You'd say, well, so? Well, it's $250,000 for a sanitation truck, you know? So that was there. The marina docks, we added slips at both St. George and Dartmoor, 8 at St. George, 20 at Dartmoor. That was $192,000. Golf carts at Heatherhurst, and then sewer collection system expansions. And if you look at all that and total it up, we had the total was $870,000. We actually only spent $796, so we actually were under budget for all those projects by almost $74,000. Some highlights for 2022, we added $2.5 million coming out of 2022 to the operating reserve, increasing that to $5.5 million. And Ken mentioned that we're now at $5.8 million in reserves. We paid off the center loan, becoming debt-free in May, purchased a new sanitation truck, and expanded the docks at the marinas. Here's a chart showing cash. The blue is where we started for each of the categories, and then the orange, I guess it is through July. So POA and operating cash, we're growing throughout the year. POA operating reserves, we've mentioned it went from 5.5 to 5.8. Amenity and capital reserves are growing. Sewer operations is dropping because we're doing some additional work. And then sewer capital reserves is growing as well. So our cash is in good shape. In summary, as Ken mentioned, we're financially strong. We really are. We've got a lot of cash, no debt, but we also have a lot of challenges, as Ken mentioned as well. So it's going to become a challenge for the board. Cash position is good. PP&E is not aging in place, but increasing, meaning that we're taking care of what we have. Currently, we're debt-free and we're reserving the previous debt service for future capital projects. What we did when we paid off the Stonehenge loan and then when we paid off the center, instead of putting that cash just in the capital fund, if you look on the balance sheet every month, there's an item called debt service reserve. We took that money and put it in there. We're saving $32,000 a month, which is what we paid in those two debt services for this building in Stonehenge. We put that in there every month. And we're sitting at somewhere around $700,000 at this point in that fund. Well, what are you going to do with that money? Well, as Ken mentioned, we've got some financial challenges, so we're either going to use that to help fund those projects, or we'll use that debt service to help pay the debt service on any future loan that we have. Member equity is increasing, and we've got strong internal controls, as I mentioned. So that's the story. And I will take any questions or comments, and if you have any, please go to a microphone so that we can keep it recorded so that folks at home can hear it as well. So is there any questions or comments on that? Mr. Radcliffe.
Thank you, Bruce. Hey, just a quick question, kind of a follow-up. Ken mentioned that the reserve study and will be posted at budget time, you know, or hopefully along with the budget.
Well, excuse me. What he said was that there'll be a presentation at the budget presentation concerning the reserve. The reserve study is 242 pages. What I'm going to do, Tom, is I'm going to summarize the reserve study, the methodology, and the results, okay? I'm not going to post 242 pages.
Good.
And I won't go through 242 pages. Just so
Good.
You know. But that's the intent, we're still looking through it, and so I'm going to summarize the reserve study and make a presentation at the same time I make the budget presentation.
And will you post that prior to the budget meeting so the members can at least review and prepare questions for you at the budget meeting?
Probably not.
And can you explain?
Can I explain what?
why you won't post it ahead of time so we can
Because
review and ask intelligent questions.
May be hard to believe, but because I tend to work on the budget presentation and right up to the 9th hour. I'm sorry, but because I want the most accurate data I have when I present the budget. And so I do not like presenting things and then 2 days later I'll change it. And then I get up and make a presentation and somebody raises their hand and says, excuse me, that's not what's out on the website. So I tend not to want to do that because I want to make sure at the 11th hour that Amy and I and the finance folks sit down and make sure we've got all the right numbers in the budget presentation. So,
Bruce, I appreciate that, and I just want to leave you with this comment. I like to ask intelligent questions, and to be able to do that, I like to study the information ahead of time, and then be able to ask those questions so the other members that are also at the meeting can have the benefit of that, the answer to my question.
and if you recall, thanks, Nico. Well, if you recall, what I do after that is I put it out there, and you've got almost 30 days to send me questions. And I respond to all those questions, and then before the board ever votes on the budget, I review all those questions and answers in public before we vote on it. So that's the way I do it. Any other questions or comments from anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't see you over there.
That's okay. That's okay. My name is, can you hear me? It's not working? My name is, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
My name is Lori. I live on Brummel Lane. And my question is, you stated that a check of $100,000 or more requires a double signature.
Yes.
That seems awfully high for any sort of checks and balance. For any corporation or company, maybe 10,000. I'm just wondering where that number was decided. That just seems somebody can just randomly make a check deposit or a check request for, $99,000 and abscond with our money.
Yeah, well, again, though, those are all passed through the finance department and all reviewed by the general manager prior to being done. So they're not signed by two people, but they're reviewed by several people before checks are ever passed on. So,
Okay. Just seems...
yes.
Trish Chambers, Hanning Drive. With all these new homes being built, I don't know if y'all think about waste. I do. Is our wastewater treatment, whatever, all the sewer, is it keeping up? Do we have to have a major expense to keep up with the growing community?
Well, let me take a stab at that, and the other Bruce can jump in here when he wants to. But we just, Bruce Evans just had a 10-year study completed, and we have put together, Bruce has, I shouldn't say we, Bruce has put together a long-term plan over that 10 years to ensure that not only do we have the capacity at the sewer treatment plant itself, but we also have the ability to move the waste from your home down to sewers. So I have total confidence that over the next 10 years, we will not have any major expenditures. We'll have expenditures, but it's all within the fees that we have currently. Will we be raising some fees periodically? Yes, we probably will, but there won't be any one-time major expense going forward according to the 10-year plan. Bruce, did I misstate anything?
That's correct. We've got 5 major capital projects, but the way this budget is structured.
Can't hear him.
Can't hear.
Yeah. Yeah, what he's saying is we've got 5 major capital projects over the next 10 years, but the way he has laid it out and the way we've planned it with our fee structure, we should be able to cover all those expenses. So we should be in good shape. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Somehow you close that, and I don't know how to do that. How do you close this thing? Where's my techie guy? There he is.
Okay, I want to take a couple of minutes to share some comments with you. First of all, we want to acknowledge the service of John Wedgeworth for his dedicated and selfless time here on the Board of Directors over the past 3 years. Jen has worked tirelessly to promote the participation of our members in the advisory committees. His focus on the engagement of the newest members is unmatched. John has run a number of programs for folks who are just moving into the community to make sure that they're aware of what opportunities there are here at the Glade, and then he is always closing a deal by asking them to participate on a committee or to volunteer to serve the community in some way. His efforts to improve the effectiveness and the relevance of your Architectural Control Committee has been exceptional. It's truly been a pleasure working with John. You've been a great partner. I appreciate everything you've done, John. And we'll miss your insight and your comments as we go through the difficult decisions that we have in front of us. The other thing is, many of you don't realize how much of a burden serving on the board puts on the spouse of the member that's on the board. And Beth not only supported John, but she also volunteers to be on some of our committees, so she can't keep from getting too deeply involved in this. So it's been a great pleasure the last 3 years. We know it hasn't been easy for you guys, and we appreciate what you've done to serve the community. And so, John, if you come up, we've got a small token of appreciation for you here. And I should tell you, we have a large supply of these Druid Hills Country Club Fairfield Glade deals, and so Pat is in charge of the stockpile of those, and so whenever anybody leaves the board, we give them a couple of the chargers here. What is interesting is that pretty soon these really are going to be collector items, because we will have a brand new Druid Hills Country Club here in the not-too-distant future. Now, with John, you may not know this, but he's been a great proponent of the marinas. And John and Beth owned a boat. So when we got ready to think about what would we do for him as a farewell gift, I thought, well, we'll get him something for the boat. And then Beth went out and sold the boat. So there isn't a slip available because the boat's still here. But Jen, we do know that the two of you guys like to eat out a lot, so we've got some certificates here for some food. And I really appreciate everything that you've done, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ken, thanks so much for those kind words. It's been an honor to serve our community. Early on in my career, I had a mentor tell me, John, you're never going to accomplish anything by yourself. And that's never been true of serving on the board. I had so many people to help me along my journey, and I just want to acknowledge some of them here this morning. Sam McAdoo, I can't thank you enough for the past 5 years, property standards and serving on the board. We've had hundreds of meetings, countless emails, and you've always supported me and given me great guidance. Thank you. Thank you for what you do for our community. Also, would like to thank the ACO team, Shannon, Tiffany, Jen, Jan, and Dave for what they do for our community. Thank you, Sam. I also like to thank Amy Kincaid. I can't thank you enough, Amy, for always answering my questions about finance, not knowing what I'm asking. You always help me with that. Thank you, Amy, very much. If I'm starting to develop a finance team, you would be my #1 draft choice, trust me. Thank you, Amy. Very good. As Ken has mentioned during this process, we have so many of our residents sitting out here that served on committees, and I've always had a special part being a liaison to the committees, and I've enjoyed that, serving as a board member. And there's a couple of them here today. I see a lot of familiar faces here, but Joe Tiplin, I can't thank you enough for what you've done when you served on the Property Standards Committee and when you're now serving on the Election Committee, but most of all being a friend, someone I could come to and talk to, and knowing it would be held in confidence. Thank you, Joe. Also like to thank Glenn Polson. Glenn's here on the front row. Thank you, Glenn. I've had the pleasure to work with Glenn on the Property Standards Committee, the AC as a liaison. Glenn has done an outstanding job serving as the ACC Policy Subcommittee. All these policies you see coming out for review, Glenn has done most of that work on that. So thank you very much, Glenn. Ken, can't thank enough for you, for what you've done, your commitment, your unwavering commitment to Fairfield Glade. You never let the naysayers get in the way. You always held your head high and kept going, and I thank you for that very much. Bruce Cox, what do I say? What do I say, my friend? Thank you for all the time we spent together talking about financing and F&B, and I thank you most. Thank you most for our friendship, our enduring friendship. Thank you, Bruce. Pat Davis, no board member could do their job without you. Thank you, Pat, for what you do. And also want to reach out to the members of the Fairfield Glade Fire Department Board of Directors. I see a couple of them in the audience today. And for the last 2 years, it has been a pleasure dealing with that board, and we've made remarkable progress. And we all see the end of the light now with coming with the new emergency service building here in a couple of years. So thanks for that group there for help. Kevin, I see you there, and Pitch, I see you. Thank you very much for that. Beth asked me not to say this, but I have to. I'll be in trouble again. I couldn't have done any of this without Beth. For almost 40 years, she's been by my side and been my guidance. Thank you, Beth. But most of all, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve our community. Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to introduce Glenn Paulson, who is the chair of our 2023 election committee, and he's going to present the official results of the 2023 election. Glenn.
Thank you, Ken. And I have to follow, gotta follow my friend John, huh? That's going to be hard. So, but it has been my honor to be the chair of the election committee for 2023. Let me take a minute just to introduce a few people that have been involved with that this year. Phil Riley is our vice chair. Is Phil here? There's Phil. He's with us. He's a major liaison with our voting vendor, SBS, and does a great job with that. Joe Templin, she's back there. She's been our author of election publications this year. Not as long through the year as we've had in the past, but we got through all that phase. Monica Heisel, she's not with us today. She's away with her son on a trip, and she's our past chair and is continuing to serve. Phil Birdsell, he was a past member of our board and has been a big help with that. He is working today, and he served us very, very well. A couple of staff members are important to mention. First of all, Pat Davis. She serves as our historian and secretary. And the historian part is very important because we are, relatively speaking, new to the election process. Very helpful to have past experience to keep us going in the right direction. Also, Amy Kincaid and her staff, they maintain all the member records, which are essentially become the voting rolls when we have an election. So thanks to all of those people for their contributions this year, and in many cases, many past years. The Community Club Board of Directors consists of 5 property owner directors at large, 1 declarant director, and 1 interval owner director. Each director is responsible for representing the needs of the entire community. In 2023, 2 property owner director at-large positions were open for election. At the end of the application period, which ended Friday, June 2nd, only 2 candidates had applied for the 2 available positions, resulting in an uncontested election. In accordance with Section 4.07B of the current bylaws of the Fairfield Glade Community Club, incumbent Greg Jones and candidate Scott Hartema are deemed elected to the Board of Directors, each for a 3-year term of office. My congratulations to Greg and Scott.
Thanks, Glenn, and congratulations, Greg, on your second stint now, 3 more years, okay? And congratulations, Scott, on joining the board. We're looking forward to working with both of you. I also would like to thank the election committee. While this was an uncontested election, they do put in a tremendous amount of time making sure that we are crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, and making sure that the communications are going out to the community. And as Glenn mentioned, Joe is the key author of most of the communications that go out to the community. So thank you to all you guys for the work that you put in getting us through this year's election, and it was a job well done. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go ahead and recognize members of the community club that would like to make comments. We'd ask you to please limit your comments to 2 minutes, and we do need you to step up to the microphone so that your questions are picked up on the recording. So if there are any comments or questions, please move to the microphones.
I have one question.
Yes.
I understand that there are supposed to be some apartment buildings built where the old ENS building is now. Is that correct?
Tom Anderson has some initial plans to develop that area. We have not seen anything specific as far as his plans to do that, but he is looking at high-end rental opportunities, mostly for like golf packages and folks that are here getting ready to like build homes and that sort of thing. So, but we have seen nothing on that yet.
Oh, okay, thank you. And who is that? Who is doing that?
Tommy Anderson.
Tom Anderson, okay,
our developer.
all right. All right, and do you know what is the projected time frame?
We have no idea what his timeline will be for those, and that's to tie in with the rest of the Grove development that he's done, where we do our Monday night blasts and that stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Ted Landers, 2 comments. I'm glad that the board reached out and changed up and got Bobby Jones links in to manage our food and beverage. I think that's a very positive step, and the finances from that show that to be a wise decision by the board. Secondly, I commend the board for reviewing all of the various board policies. Some of them are kind of poorly written, and it's a great opportunity to go through it. I would suggest, though, that rather than have them kind of buried back in through several layers of menus to get to, that it be on the front page, the home page of the website. I think it poses a great opportunity for members, even if they don't have comments about them, to at least learn about the policies so that hopefully they get followed and not ignored. The last thing I have about that is I tried to take the policy and do either strike-throughs or highlights in order to show changes, and it wouldn't allow me to do that. It just comes up as just typed language. And so if people who are reviewing that, it would be nice if that capability was in there. So if that's something in a future upgrade that might happen, I think that'd be beneficial.
Okay. And we do apologize, Ted. Typically, when we push out the announcement on policies, we usually at the bottom have a link that you can click on that takes you right to the introductory cover letter that tells you why we're changing the policy, and then the policy follows it immediately thereafter. And we didn't put that link in this time on that message.
I do think that the board's doing a very good job, and I appreciate all the work that you guys do. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Ken, I've got a few points. First of all, I thought the board did a great job of helping the members get to know Scott and Greg. Since there wasn't going to be a formal election, I thought the board did a great job of getting their applications out so we can understand their backgrounds, and even the videos were great. We do have a new board member this year, in addition to those two, that Ellen on the phone, and too bad you're not here. It'd be great to get to know her, get a little bit to know her background, you know, what her philosophies are, how she feels about Fairfield Glade, where she lives, all those type of things. It'd be nice if the board published that. Is that possible?
Yeah, if Ellen would like to share that information, we'll do that.
Ellen, would you like to share that information?
I don't think she's not on the phone at this point.
Oh, she's not, okay. The next part that I have is I'd like to just take and make mention of that we have a great core of department heads within Fairfield Glade. We should be very, I feel that we're very blessed in that. And if the board, in their wisdom, starts the search process, I think that if the right person is hired with the right competencies, those department heads are going to continue to shine and even get better. So I'm encouraging the board to take the due diligence needed to select the right person. And one of the things I think the board should identify is the competencies needed in that position. And I think the board should share that with the members and get some input as well. Is that something you're looking to do, Ken?
Actually, Tom, every member here had the opportunity to select the competencies that they thought were important as they did the survey. Okay? Those competencies are going to be in the 2023 survey report, and those competencies will be shared with the search firms when we put together the package for the individual search firms.
Great. Thank you, Ken. And then at a previous board meeting, the board was asked to open the annual election of officers to the public. You know, that election typically follows this meeting. It's been done in closed doors in the past. And really, as members, Ken, as you've stated several times already, you're really taking and supporting and working for us. It'd be nice to take and be able to be a part of that in some way. I know we can't elect it, but we should take and have the ability to see what's going on, have an idea of who's supporting who, those type of things. And there was no response, both at the meeting it was brought up and the last meeting, so can it be open
yes,
to
Tom,
the public?
I do have a response for you, okay? We appreciate that you took the time to share that information with us. The board has considered your comments on 2 separate occasions and has unanimously decided to conduct this year's election of the officers in executive session as we have in the past. And this year in particular, this exercise that we will go through today is going to be a very open opportunity, because we have not only John's responsibilities to review and reassign, but then we really need to look at the transition plan that we will need to follow for next year when both Bruce and I leave the board. So we expect that this year's session is going to be a welcoming session to get through the election of the officers and then the assignments that will go with that. Now, the other thing you have brought up on a number of occasions about the transparency of the board, and what we will do is we're going to take a look at the executive session agendas, and we will move the items that are not sensitive to either the Wednesday morning workshop and the Thursday morning monthly board meeting, okay? And we'll share those with the community at that point. so that you're able to see more of what is going on in the executive session. So we will work on that and probably be able to see something like that in the October and December board meetings.
For that last part, thank you. Although I'm still kind of unclear as to why the actual elections can't be opened up to the public.
Okay, let me share something with you, Tom, while you're clapping for yourself there. Okay, I saw you clapping. Let's give Tom a hand for Tom has been one of the very diligent folks. Actually, Tom has been presenting things to the board since sometime in 2021, and we have worked with him on some items and on other items perhaps not. But the one thing that, and any of you that have been involved in corporate boards or boards, the important piece about the board is that it needs to speak with one voice when it speaks to its organization. And I mentioned to you in my closing comments how important it is for the individual members to advocate for their position, and then how important it is for us to come to consensus so that when we give directions to the senior management team, to the general manager, and when we communicate with the community, that we communicate with one voice. And that's a very important part of the board's responsibilities. The other thing that you should know is that when we do the elections of officers, nobody ever knows who's voted for who. Those ballots are secret ballots, and then Pat does the tallying for us. And the important reason for that is that this board, historically and going forward, is not interested in becoming a reality TV show, nor do we want to look like the activities that are currently happening in Washington, D.C. So when we spend our time, we spend our time to get to consensus so that we can show the members and the senior management team that the board speaks with one voice. And so that's why we do that in executive session. Do I have other comments or questions? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion to adjourn is passed. We stand adjourned. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.